Let's talk about today's news. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to get into. I have to do a little bit of shilling first, so let's dive into that. Finally, folks, it's available. If you haven't heard it yet, over on Podio Commentary, here on YouTube, or anywhere you get your podcasts. I go into the mist, the nitty, the gritty, the wild, the crazy, the story that has one of the best and most FU endings of all time, leading it coming right off of one of the best villain deaths of all time. The Mist is fantastic. It is a 44-minute episode. I would love it if you guys would listen and let me know how you like the format, how you like the style. And of course, you can always suggest movies that are going to be coming down the pipeline. So that is something to really check out. Music Man here already dropping in, says the Mist Podio is really good. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that, Music Man. These things take time to put together, and they're a lot of fun to do. And I really, really, really enjoy doing them. So for that, guys, thank you so much. Be sure to check that out. But without further ado, let's get into the first bit of news of the night. And I gotta say, I'm really, really happy for Zach Cregger. All right, because not only has he spent a long time trying to get his foot off the ground in regards of getting movies made, but he has now gotten to a point where he is winning. His movies are going up for very intense auction at these studios. So let's find out more about this here. So Barbarian's director just got a massive payday for his second horror feature. And again, this is fantastic. So Zach Cregger, if you don't know, he's a well-known comedian and actor. He made a big impact in the horror genre last year with his small, you could almost call it a micro-budget film, Barbarian. The movie, which stars Bill Skarsgård, Georgina Campbell, and Justin Long, was a critical and commercial success, and it ranked as one of the best horror movies of 2022. Because of that success, Cregger now has scored a very large payday for his next horror movie, Weapons. It was announced today that New Line has acquired the rights to Weapons, which is being put together by the same production team as Barbarian. New Line was one of several parties interested in acquiring the rights to the movie and closed negotiations on it earlier this week. According to sources, Cregger scored himself a solid 8-figure deal to write and direct the movie, which is a significant increase from the $4 million production budget for Barbarian. Now, you got to remember this when talking about Barbarian. I haven't seen it, so I'm not I need to watch the movie. I know it's been on my mind for a long time. I've been recommended the movie quite a bit by a lot of people. I hear it's really good. No spoilers if you've seen it, because apparently there's some crazy shit in the movie. But one of the things that you got to love about this is it was a $4 million movie. It took him years to get it off the ground, and it comes on out and it just wows during a time when like really low budget inventive horror was completely dominating and almost redefining the landscape in a number of ways. Like, will this movie will it ever live up to or get up to the levels of Avatar or any of the Marvel stuff? And the answer to that is obviously no. But what we've seen coming out of 2022 and really what we're going to be seeing going into 2023 has a lot to do with these particular stories doing very well. And finding a way to gross a lot of money. You know what I mean? And that's going to be pretty crazy. Spherical Man here says, I like Zach and the Whitest Kids, but I couldn't get into Barbarian. He's going to try to pick it up in, and that's maybe not for everything. But I do very much love, Zach Cregger. I love, Trevor Moore. I still get really upset when I think about Trevor Moore and the fact that he's no longer with us. That always sucks, but at least, Zach is moving on and doing some good things and I think Trevor would be really proud of him, even though at this point, my thoughts on it really mean nothing, but it gets even better for Zach. It really does. It gets even better for Zach. It was announced that as part of the deal, Cregger would have final cut pending a threshold that is met during test screenings and a controlled interest in the back-end pot, meaning that he'll have creative control over the final version of the film and will also get a share of the profits made from the movies. And if Weapons is a hit, New Line is very much ready to bring him in and basically sign him to a deal in order to keep him around as a significant horror voice and supplier. And I think they're doing this. I think, well, for one, New Line has always been good with horror. I don't know who's running New Line right now. I mean, but before that person was Walter Hamada. And before, and under Hamada with the Conjuring franchise, it became $1 billion franchise. Hamada left running DC Films, heads over to Paramount, goes to Paramount, sets up shop as basically their horror czar, brings in the guy who discovered Smile, who was a big hit for a $20 million horror, gross $200 million worldwide for Smile. I mean, you can tell that we're going to start seeing a whole bunch of these horror franchises. I don't want to say franchises, but maybe these like horror departments popping up at these studios. And here's the thing, even though these movies will do very well, they're still, I think, not going to have as much of a cultural impact in some respects as certain things like Terrifier or the upcoming Winnie the Pooh, which we'll be talking about, the Blood and Honey movie here in a second. But really in these particular situations, it's like you can see horror, especially like indie horror, inventive horror. I don't want to use the term elevated horror because I don't think that's really going to fly. People just want a good slasher flick. And we're kind of seeing a second golden age of horror. We're getting back into what made the 80s great. And that to me is something that's really, really, really fascinating because like in the 80s, a lot of slasher movies, we kind of got into a little bit of the metaphysical kind of stuff with some of the horror stuff. In 90s, it went back to the slasher route, did pretty good there, some sci-fi stuff. But then you had like the 2000s, which was just like, hey, everybody, why don't we head over to Japan, see what's doing well over there, and then adapt it for American audiences. Which I just was never a big fan of, to be honest with you guys. And no shade if you like those movies. I just, you know what? I still think like the American remake of The Grudge was terrible, but Gore Verbinski's The Ring was actually really, really, really good. Now, going back to weapons here, there's no specific plot details that have been revealed as of yet, but it's described as an interrelated multi-story horror epic that is tonally in the vein of Paul Thomas Anderson's Magnolia. Production is expected to begin later this year, and it's likely that the movie will be released in 2024, barring no problems, right? Ralph Stubble-Tits here says, horror is back. Spherical Man here says, I think a horror renaissance is more apt. There you go. Well, I don't know if I'd want to call it a renaissance because has horror really ever gone anywhere? Really, has horror ever really gone anywhere? It's never really gone away. It's kind of gone through these specific, scenarios, like these different genres, if you will. And I'm glad that we're going back into this darker, more disturbing horror rather than the crap we got when they were just remaking everything coming out of Japan. When arguably the Japanese movies on their own, far greater, far scarier, far more amazing. And then Korea, contending with Korea on their horror stuff gets pretty crazy too. Shogun Order here says plane and now weapons. What's with these new movie names? I don't know. That maybe they just want single word, very identifiable names because you understand the concept. I think even when it comes to plane, like Gerard Butler has outright like definitely defended it, but I've actually heard that the movie's pretty good. Music Man here says, some have said that it died, meaning horror, but it never did. No, horror just went to a different level. Horror like went to online. Horror decided, it was like, look at Shudder. Shudder has single-handedly kept horror around and like just outside of like, you could argue in the sense of Broadway, like the off-Broadway side of it. I don't know what we would call that. I don't know what we call that in for movies. Like outside of Hollywood, but it's kept a lot of it going. And of course, streaming has really helped out as well. Ryan here says elevated horror is a pretentious cop-out statement. Horror has always have thought-provoking horror since its inception. It's an art form that can take different avenues and alleys. He's right. Spherical Commander says, well, even Golden Age is used. It's usually used to mean the past. Yeah, I get that. It's, yeah, Shogun here says, or the movie, or even to make fun of that even a little bit further, go back to 2007's Idiocracy, where the number one movie was simply ass. And it was nothing but a butt on screen for an hour and a half, and it won like 8 Academy Awards. So there's a lot of that goes on to this stuff, right? But anyway, congratulations to Zach Greger. Can't wait to see what happens with that. If you guys want to know everything Like, what are your thoughts on this? I definitely want to know. So let's move on here. We got more Justin Roiland news, by the way, community. I do see you there. I'll get to that here when this is over. Justin Roiland dropped from Hulu's Solar Opposites as well as Koala Man. And this is something that, look, man, nobody out there saw that this was going to be any different. All right. Nobody out there saw or thought that they weren't going to do this. Okay. So let's find out more. Hulu has dropped Justin Roiland from the animated series he co-created, Solar Opposites, and from the guest voice actor role in the animated series Koala Man. This decision comes after domestic violence charges were brought against Roiland. The charges include felony counts of domestic bribery with corporal injury and false imprisonment by menace, violence, fraud, and or deceit. The incident that led to the charges is alleged to have happened in January 2020 against an unnamed Jane Doe who was dating Roiland at the time. Roiland pled not guilty. Okay. And a trial date has not been set yet. As a result of the charges, both Solar Opposites and Koala Man will continue without his involvement. It's not clear yet if the character he voiced in Solar Opposites will be recast or written out of the upcoming seasons. Additionally, the video game he co-founded, Swanch Games, has cut ties with them, which we did touch upon last night. Now, what was weird about this, and I've been bringing this up again and again and again, because I do feel that we have to have this particular conversation. I do feel that it's necessary to bring this point up. When it happened on January 12th, that the first report came out from Kat Tenbarge from NBC News about these charges, Hollywood, Hulu, 20th Century Television, 20th Century Animation, Adult Swim were fucking silent. They were silent, guys. For a long time, they were silent. And then all of a sudden, it's a domino thing, right? It's the domino thing. So they were all silent until it came to a point where like one person kind of like, I think everyone was waiting necessarily for what Adult Swim was going to do, because it is kind of like the most visual connection and gig that Justin Roiland has. But even then, you can tell they're holding off on that, I think, because they don't want to be caught up in what could be conceived as another Johnny Depp situation. We do have a particular issue right now with jumping to conclusions. Now, people out there, I mean, again, it's so weird about this story is that a lot of people on like the left are happy this is happening because they don't like the show. It's not that they don't like Justin Roiland. A lot of the comments I saw were, oh, Rick and Morty sucks, so let's cancel it anyway. Kind of weird. Now, Jess here says that he's going to take a deal. There's too much cancellations. He's already had the opportunity to take a plea deal, and him and his attorneys chose not to take the plea deal. So that ends up being something interesting there. Now, yes, according to Swanch Games, he did leave a week before all this broke out, but they also didn't say anything. They didn't say anything about it until right after Adult Swim said something. They dropped some information. And then today, Hulu and 20th Century Animation said something. But otherwise, they waited. They really, really waited for quite some time. So we're going to have to see how it plays out. Obviously, they waited because they are trying to, in my opinion, they are trying to get to like the end of this stuff, right? Like what I mean by that is I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to like wait to see where things went. But the fact that like your normal activists, loud actor activists or Hollywood, insider activists on social media weren't saying anything. Nobody was really talking shit who worked in the industry. And usually if something happens, people will dogpile like a mofo. And I wasn't seeing any of it for fucking 12 days before this stuff went down. Like I saw some things, like there was obviously the podcast audio, which we played last night. There was some of the text messages that we saw, but nobody was saying anything. So it's very fascinating to see how this is a different scenario. And I'm wondering if it just has a lot to do with what they've seen on the back end, right? I mean, really all these companies are saying is just like Justin, they've ended their association. They've cut ties. He won't voice the roles anymore. And I know people have said to me like, oh, it's super easy to cast this stuff, right? It's super easy to cast this. It's super easy to just come out and say, no, just bring in somebody new. They did it with Cleveland over on Family Guy. Cleveland isn't fucking Peter Griffin, as I talked about this last night. A lot of Rick and Morty fans like Justin Roiland as a character, as an actor. They like his personality. They like the wubba lubba dub dub. They like all that weird shit. They know that the zaniness comes from his personality. They like that. So what happens next is like, really, this is $1 billion thing. Justin Roiland is $1 billion creator. He's $1 billion entity. And so where we are with this is they've got to tread lightly because there's a lot of money that they're going to end up leaving on the table and losing if they cancel these shows or if they don't really kind of like carry on with it in a way that needs to be done. I'm fascinated to see where it goes. It could literally go any direction. But again, there's a lot at stake here financially. And on Adult Swim's part, that's Warner Brothers Discovery, man. They got to play harder than anybody else, more carefully than anybody else, because the last thing they want to do is nip that $1 billion industry in the bud. So there's that. Jordan here says, casting directors about to sit through a lot of bad Rick and Morty impersonations. Oh yeah. H. Bartier says, well, there's a guy on TikTok that sounds exactly like him. Yes, that's very true. I saw the video you're talking about, and that guy was really good. The thing about that, though, is what you have to remember is it's not Justin Roiland. The diehard Rick and Morty fans like Roiland. He is as much a part of Rick and Morty as the voices, as anything else. So there's that. Now, Command Unit here for 2, thank you, buddy, says they could just kill the current Rick. They could kill the current Rick. They absolutely could do that. The biggest problem with that is, though, is again, Rick is a big part of that. The Rick and Morty dynamic. That's the thing. All right. And Roiland having his say, like, working on the stories. I saw somebody mention to me, like, he hasn't been involved in the show since season 3, but as far as I know, he was still an executive producer on the show and a creative entity on the show. What I'm waiting for now is the defense of he has substance abuse problems and to see what they pull from that. So I think this was the first salvo of the attack against them. It's been largely mild, to say the least. A lot of the people making a lot of the very crazy claims about him, as we talked about last night, don't hold weight under scrutiny. It's a lot of pearl clutching, and that's how the internet operates, and again, it's not going to really stick. So I'm going to be very interesting to see what's going on here. Ryan here says that Rick has died numerous times in the episode Rick Die, Rick Pete. And that's true. Static Path here says, I just don't understand how or why they're going to keep going with the show because of the money. They signed after season 3, after the show hit like this really peak pinnacle of success. They signed them to a 70 episode deal, right? They signed them to a 70 episode deal. The merchandise alone for Rick and Morty is $1 billion a year. It's $1 billion industry for just the merchandise. They do not want to mess with that. That's why I'm saying is ultimately right now, that could be like Roiland's saving grace, depending if he gets off of it. If he, pardon the pun, beats the charges, we'll definitely see here. Companion here for 2, thank you, says, Morty looking for a new Rick could be a fun plot. You know what? I absolutely agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. That could actually be a pretty fun plot. So we'll have to wait and see on that one there. It'll be very interesting to see where Hollywood goes with this, because you know what? How they respond is really going to show us what it takes for Roiland to get back into the mix, if at all. And again, I always leave it up to you. I want to hear your guys' thoughts about this because we're always going to disagree on it. And I think that's part of the fun. But anyway, let's talk about a weird thing. Let's talk about Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, because this is popping up, is getting closer to coming out. So if you don't know, Fathom Events has announced that Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey is going to be getting a limited run theatrically for a week. Originally, they were going to do a one night only theatrical release on Wednesday, February 15th. Now, they've actually extended that deal through Monday, February 23rd, giving you a solid 8 days right? A solid 8 days to watch this movie. Although that may not make a lot of sense. I don't know. That's what I'm reading here is February 23rd. Because this movie has generated so much interest since its announcement last year, right? Look, like, remember when the poster, the images dropped and you're like, wait, what the hell's going on? Why is Winnie and Piglet, why are they going on a murderous rampage? What the hell is going on? Well, again, the public domain availability of these characters created by A.A. Milne going into public domain is why it allowed for this to happen. And quite frankly, cool. You know, I mean, there was the movie, The Mean One, that came out recently, and that was a parody of the Dr. Seuss, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. That isn't in the public domain, but a lot of other stuff out there is. And so as things enter into the public domain, which is something that Disney has fought tooth and nail to like really destroy how many things enter into the public domain and when, because they don't want to relinquish their copyright on any of the things that they have access to. Expect that to get harder as time goes on. But when this stuff comes out and hits the public domain, people are going to take it and they're going to run with it, and they can do whatever the hell they want with it, right? It's absolutely possible to make and create new stories about Pooh, Piglet, and the other characters that came out of the 100 Acre Wood. So in this particular case, writer and director Reese Frock Waterfield decided to put the characters in a horror movie, and apparently it's disturbed some people. They don't like that. They don't want to see their favorite honey eating bear. You know, oh bother, right? They don't want it. They don't want that guy out there killing people, and I kind of get it, right? And so one of the producers has actually said here that the director and another producer have actually had a lot of direct emails from people telling them that they should die, telling them that they should be killed. I mean, the worst kind of stuff imaginable is what they say here. Because some of these emails have said, it's an abomination. You're ruining our childhood dreams. That's what, you know, people, when they first caught wind of this, they're so, you know, these are Disney adults, by the way. Let's be fair. Let's be real. Let's be true to ourselves on the matter. Because these are grown adults that are upset that Winnie the Pooh and Piglet are going to be in a horror movie. Now, Shogun here, thank you, says, for 5, says, isn't Mickey Mouse going into the public domain? Are we going to get a slasher Mickey? Well, it is not it's not Mickey Mouse specifically. It's going to be Steamboat Willie. That version of Mickey Mouse is going to be in the public domain. And when that version of Mickey Mouse does, I'm going to write a horror story. I'm going to use ChatGPT. I'm going to use motherfucking Midjourney. And I'm going to make the weirdest, twisted, most crazy, depraved story artificial intelligence will allow me to make. You know why? Because I fucking can. Because that's what it means to be an American, folks. That's what it means to be a true patriot and supporter of free speech. Is to take these childhood beloved characters that enter into the public domain and you make them have sex. All right. You know, you just make them have sex. I'm going to write a story where Winnie the Pooh and Steamboat Willie, they fuck. They 69 each other. They just, you know, just cum buckets. Right. And Winnie the Pooh's case is just going to be honey. Right. But he's going to be like, oh, Minnie, I want you, or Mickey, I want your honey. Anyway, I'm going over the top here. You know, Moisture here for $5. Thank you very much. Says, within a decade, Superman will be in the public domain. It most likely. I don't know, like elements, the original idea of Superman will probably be, in there, but I'm just going to write something stupid about Steamboat Willie because I fucking can, because I can, you know what I mean? And yeah, I know obviously we might go back to that old saying, that old line from Dr. Ian Malcolm from 1993's Jurassic Park, now a 30-year-old movie in literally 4 months. How old do you feel? I feel fucking old. You know, people are so caught up with whether or not they could, they don't stop to ask themselves whether or not they should. I'm paraphrasing, but it's where we are. And I think this, it doesn't take away from your favorite Winnie the Pooh story. Especially, do you know the story of what what Blood and Honey is? There's a story. Sounds kind of intriguing. Let's find out more. So it says here, the film follows Winnie and Piglet trying to slaughter Christopher Robin and his friends after he returns to the 100-acre wood. That's what it is. That's what it is. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. They have to go back to the 100-acre wood and like, they're going to hunt down and kill Christopher Robin. All right. And I'm just, and I agree with that because I've always kind of felt that Christopher Robin is just kind of a bit of a bitch. All right. Just kind of a bit of a bitch is kind of how I see that. Let's see. Simon Section also just left a member, a channel, member, right? Free super chat. Says a real American who hasn't seen a Rocky movie. Seeing a Rocky movie, you know what? Here's the thing with that. I'll quickly point that out. Not having seen the Rocky movies, yes, even though H. Bart's did send me the 6-pack for Blu-ray for Christmas, thank you. It doesn't make me any less American. Okay, what it really means is that I am exercising my God-given free right of an American to not watch something, to not watch it. How about that? How about them apples? Put that in your pipe and smoke it, huh? How about that, Simon? Thank you very much. Also, Mo Moon just re-signed up as a matinee member. Thank you so much, buddy. Really appreciate that. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. Garrick here says, Matt hasn't seen the Rocky movies, but he has seen Netflix's Marmaduke. You know what, man? Listen, we all have skeletons in our closet. Okay? We all have skeletons in our closet. But Blood and Honey, I'm going to be going to see it on February 15th. It's playing at my theater. I'm going to buy my tickets this week. I'm going to go see it. I'm very excited to go see it because I'll be seeing it. And then the next day, I think I'll be watching like Ant-Man or something. So there you have it, folks. It's going to be a fun review. I'm excited to see how it goes. So, all right, let us move on to the next story here, which is MoviePass has returned again. MoviePass is back. And I'm just saying it's back and it's once again going to disappoint us, but this is like the third time it's returned. So maybe the third time is the charm. Let's find out more here. So the revival of the movie ticket subscription service MoviePass has officially begun, with the company inviting everyone nationwide who was on the waiting list to use the beta. Why in God's name would you go back to this, right? This is Stockholm syndrome. This is battered wife syndrome. People are like, yeah, I really want to see what the new MoviePass is all about. It left us disappointed and angry last time. Why are you even remotely trying to do this? But they have unveiled pricing plans for the revamped service, as well as more details about how it works. So, you know what? New leadership, new management, new company, right? New year, new you. Let's see how it goes. So the original model was unsustainable. We definitely know that. It allowed for unlimited movie viewing at just $10 a month. There was no way that was going to last, because what they originally wanted to do, if I remember correctly, is they really wanted to collect your user data so they could sell that off to make a profit. And that's just kind of what tech companies do. Let's be fair. That we already know this. If a product is free or cheap, you're the product. But now this is going to be broken down into 4 different plans when the app officially launches. You have your basic plan, standard, premium, and pro, which are $10, $20, $30, and $40. So that gives you an idea. So basic subscribers will receive 34 credits per month and are allowed roughly 1 to 3 movies. Pro subscribers will get 113 credits per month and can see as many films as they want a day. Users will pay credits to see specific movies, while with the credits required for sessions varying based on a number of factors like theater, location, time, day, and the movie itself. A Marvel movie will always cost more than a smaller indie film, for example. So this is tiered selling. And that's really fucking interesting. That is what I've been talking about for a long time. Now, listen, I know when it comes to theaters, we know that they have to maintain the prices the way that they do. All right. We know this. Now, look, Mo here says AMC A-list greater than MoviePass. Yes, I agree. Music Man here, no, and no. It's definitely looking like it, but it's interesting. It's interesting nonetheless. And that's what I'm mainly talking about here. So think about it like this. Here's why I'm fascinated by this, guys. Okay. And I'll be honest with you. It's like, kind of getting me a little bit excited, right? Getting me a little bit chubby. Here's why. When we go to the movie theaters now, a lot of us simply go to watch the latest big budget movie because we know that there's movies that are going to be streaming at home here pretty soon. And so why go and spend the time and spend the money full price for a ticket for a movie you could just wait to see later on. So these smaller movies that could do well theatrically ultimately kind of get left by the wayside. So if you've only got 34 credits a month for paying $10 and it's like, look, it's 5 credits to go see this movie or 10 credits or whatever. It's really not much. It's really cheap because no one else is watching it. You might be inclined to go and do it, right? You might be inclined to go and do it, but here's the other side of this, right? So here's the thing. What you've got is you've got AMC, you've got Regal Pass, you've got Cinemark Movie Pass or Movie Club. And those are good services in and of themselves, right? I mean, I have Cinemark. It's $10 a month. I get like 1 free ticket, and I get like a $9 a price after that. But it's only $10 a month. If I had an AMC close to me, I would do that. I have a Regal, but I don't like that Regal too much, so I don't really go there. So it's like, but I like Cinemark, so it's fine. But if we're already using these services, why is it like, what is going to be a prompt for us to go and pay this kind of money? It just doesn't make any sense. All right. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, the idea is there and it's interesting. Like, there's an interesting concept here. And if it's utilized correctly, it can probably work well to really give a nice boost to some smaller movies. In fact, believe it or not, back in 2018, when the last Movie Pass was really trying to work, they were actually, to an extent, trying to do that. They were trying to work with studios or with distribution companies to offer up discounts or screenings of these movies that would be only for Movie Pass members, as a way to build solid word of mouth and as a way to get people to buy into the system. Again, so they could collect your user data based upon your purchase history and things like that, and then sell that off. That was part of the plan. And I thought that was really interesting. I did. I thought that was an interesting way of trying to draw some attention, but then it went dark, and it did. Movie Pass actually tried. If you remember, if you found out after the fact, like, they started taking money out of the system, knowing that people would not be able to actually pay with the card that they had to see the movies that they were guaranteed based upon the amount of money they pay into the system, right? Their membership. They were doing that as a way to, like, just kind of screw over their customers. And then they tried to screw over certain movies. They literally, at one point, and this is my speculation on this, at one point they actually tried, I believe, to extort studios, to extort the the filmmakers, because what they were talking about is like, well, they could block certain movies from Movie Pass, right? And so if enough people, let's say, wanted to go see the next Marvel movie or the next big budget movie, and they had Movie Pass, they could effectively use that, hold that money over the head of the studios. Like, well, now we're just taking money away from you unless you work with us, which would probably be in the form of some kind of like financial kickback. Like, they would be a paid sponsor of that movie or something. It was a really weird and skeevy way of going about it. And that's what I remember about that. That's what I remember really about that kind of stuff. Yeah, Rodney, you're right. Movie Pass started blocking movies which customers could see. In fact, I really feel, what's funny is that Garrick here says they blocked movies people wanted to see, like Mission Impossible Fallout. That was like the only movie I actually saw with my Movie Pass, right? Like, that's the thing. H-Barts here says, I go to Phoenix and they don't have a pass, sadly. Tickets are only $10. That's not bad. That's not bad. But yeah, this is one of those scenarios where things just simply don't look they're going to go pretty well. And so, okay, Command Unit, I see that. We'll get to the super chats later, but thank you. So also here, so going on, it says, leftover credits will then roll over to the next month, though they can't exceed double the subscription amount, meaning you can only, they're going to kind of force you to use it or lose it, which I get. The new system remedies an issue with the original Movie Pass that would allow subscribers to pay for any guests coming with them. There's also an ad system that allows subscribers to earn credits along the way, so long as they keep their eyes on the screen while advertisements pay. One caveat, Movie Pass subscribers can't pay for films ahead of time. So yeah, no going in there and trying to reserve seats early. Also, you can earn credits by watching ads. Yeah, that to me is really funny. There's a thing I read a while ago about how like there's like cameras in some theaters, and I don't know if this is true. I heard this, but like they can actually like check, like they scan the audience to see if the audience actually is watching like the ads or whatever. And like, so what are you going to do if you want to earn ads on your Movie Pass app to go see a film? Like, you have to watch what they want you to do. Well, are they going to like scan? Is there something in the app that makes sure that you're looking at it? It's going to be a little bit on the wild side. Now, Business Insider goes on to say that Movie Pass is planning to bring back the unlimited option that led to the downfall of the earlier iteration, but pledges to make it profitable this time. The co-founder, Stacy Spikes, tells the outlet that the service is working on an unlimited plan, saying we're already testing that in several markets, at least in 2. The unlimited option is being tested. We do want to bring it back. We are testing unlimited at different price levels to see where it works best. Unlimited is what killed them last time, right? Unlimited is very much what killed them last time. So in my particular opinion, I think it's ridiculous to try making that again. Unlimited, I don't think is going to work, especially if you're trying to go across multiple different theater chains and formats and matinee versus evening prices and things like that. It's just, I don't know. Like, I understand why they want to do it, but at the same time, I really, really, really don't think that that's the thing. So anyway, well. All right. And then finally here it says, just don't expect another $10 unlimited movies option. That will never happen again, says the CEO or the co-founder. All of the specifics of each plan are still subject to change as the beta testing continues. Plans and pricing are expected to normalize when the service reopens to the general public. No full date for that launch has been set yet. So yeah, that's Movie Pass at that particular point in time. Is Movie Pass going to be able to find its way back? Do you guys think it's going to be even remotely profitable? Because in the last couple of years since its last downfall, people have fallen in love kind of with moviegoers, have fallen in love with their AMC and their Regal Pass and their Cinemark stuff. I mean, we're coming out of a pandemic, which is probably like a good time for Movie Pass to kind of come back, considering it died before the beginning of the pandemic. But I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be able to figure it out or not, but I'm also very fascinated to see if they will, and if they can find a way to do some kind of positive change in the industry. But then again, this whole thing is about, it's about making money. All right. Swoozy here says, I remember when this came out and you enjoyed it, but you didn't think it was going to last even back then. Yeah. At $10 a month, dude, there's no way it was going to last. Like, there's just no way it was going to last, like, at all. Sorry, I gotta get a drink. It's just like, it was like, all right, well, let's do it while they burn through all their capital. And that's basically what happened. I feel bad about that, but that is what it is. So, all right, let's get into the main story of the night, the final story of the night, folks. Let's talk about Titans and Doom Patrol being canceled after 4 seasons. I feel bad for fans of these shows because, like, I know they've wanted them to, like, live on and succeed. And it's always kind of felt like each show was just kind of limping along, given how they were both created for DC Universe, and then that got canceled, so they went to HBO Max, and then of course there was the buyout with Warner Brothers Discovery, and the fact that these companies don't have a lot of money, and you're like, and now you've got the new DC heads, and there's a whole new group involved on this front. So it's kind of crazy to think about this, especially now that Brendan Fraser is probably going to end up being Best Actor of the Year, right? It's probably going to end up being like, he's going to get that win, and so that's going to be a pretty crazy thing here. So let's just kind of talk about this. So the DC series Titans and Doom Patrol, which air on HBO Max, will be ending. Both shows recently finished their 6-episode season 4A runs, and the second halves of their 4 seasons will be the final episodes. Both shows were crafted to give them a proper ending. For one, let me just applaud the absolute hell out of that. And I think that's wonderful. And let me explain why. Instead of just canceling it on a cliffhanger, instead of just ending it, they are actually going to give the fans a proper conclusion. That is going to do a lot in the way of building trust between fans and HBO Max. And HBO Max had a bad last quarter of 2024 or 2022 because of everything that's going on. Not even quarter. It was like last half of the year was really bad with all the cancellations and the write-offs and things like that. And they absolutely need a win on the PR front. And so even though these shows have varying degrees of quality, I think I haven't seen either. Titans has a lot of fans, but they were not a big fan of whatever's happening with this particular season. And Doom Patrol fans are very loyal. And I think this is going to hurt them the most, but they are getting a concrete finale. And I think that's really good. Now, only if they would bring back Batgirl. That'd be fantastic. So, both of these shows are the last live action series from the slate of the old DC universe. Everything that they had on there that was live action, Doom Patrol, Titans, Swamp Thing, those shows are all gone. I mean, Harley Quinn is getting a season 4. We are also getting a Valentine's Day special here pretty soon. That's doing pretty well. So that looks like it's going to stick around. There's been, as far as I know, no update on Young Justice. I don't know if that's coming back or if that's been canceled. But the idea of DC Universe, I honestly thought was really good. It worked well when you could sit at home on your TV with your TV remote and just read comics. Right there, I was reading it on a 49-inch television, just laying back on the couch, it was great. But they merged with AT&T and that just effing killed it. So there's been so much transition with that company in the last 4 or 5 years that they need to have some goodwill with the fans. And I think that this is something that's going to do that. Flash and Stargirl are both ending. That's going to end the chapter with Berlanti Productions. And that's going to, at least with that side of it, the Arrowverse is officially over here very soon. But Greg Berlanti has also re-upped with Warner Brothers Television Group under a new deal. And that's going to allow him to keep creating content like Riverdale and Sabrina and things like that. But one of the things I have seen today is that a lot of people have been really going after James Gunn and Peter Safran. Right? Again, James Gunn, because he is the vocal one on Twitter about this, he has caught the ire of fans of Doom Patrol and Titans, or at least people out there who are rallying on behalf of Doom Patrol and Titans. People out there who are rallying, for the cancellation or against the cancellation of a show that they simply didn't watch. And James Gunn is out there. He gave a really, really, really good statement here. He says here that the decision to end the series precedes us, but I certainly wish the best for the talented group of creators, actors, and the rest of the crew that produced both shows. Remember, he's acknowledged the Save Legends of Tomorrow, and he's acknowledged the Release the Ayer cut. He is tapped in on what's going on. He understands what's going on. He understands what the fandom wants. He's currently just in the place of trying to figure out where the next 8 to 10 years are going to go and how to get there. But people are really impatient. Certain people run live streams. Oh, where's the slate? We're getting to the end of the month. In fact, someone today had asked him, when is it going to happen? And he said before January 32nd. Which I thought was really cute, really funny. I thought that was really good. But again, the Hollywood Reporter backs up the claim, saying that the decision to end both shows were made before Gunn and Safran came on board. And I think we all knew that was going to happen. During the tumultuous time at HBO Max, at the tail end of last year, we knew a lot was going to be on the chopping block. And I think a lot of people were just like, listen, it's going to probably happen like that. All right. It's going to probably happen like that. And there we're going to go. Now, Blessing here asks, I wonder if he'll cancel Peacemaker. No, he's not. He's not. That's still on track to film this year. So that's going to be a fascinating thing to see what happens. And again, people are going to be really mad at him if these shows cancel. And then, Peacemaker stays. Now, McLeoder says Superman and Lois is what James Gunn should use as a blueprint for developing the DC new Superman, whomever that may be. Maybe. I haven't seen the show, but they did just also announce today that, the guy who played Abraham in The Walking Dead is going to be Lex Luthor in Superman and Lois. But it is also likely that Superman and Lois will end with season 3. I think at this point we can basically say that, right? We can basically say that if there isn't, if Doom Patrol and Titans are dying, Stargirl and the Flash are dying, everything DC TV related is dying outside of Harley Quinn getting a 4-season renewal so far. We know that Superman and Lois is on the horizon. Now, again, when it comes to Peacemaker, James Gunn is going to keep his own project. I don't even think it's that big of a deal. But, there are going to be people out there who aren't going to be able to let go of the fact that Henry Cavill is no longer Superman, but John Cena can still run around in his tidy whities, horking down empanadas and talking about Aquaman fucking fish. Because, hey, listen, that's those are the things in life you really want to get mad at. But anyway, as always, I really want to hear your thoughts on that one there. So that actually wraps up all of the news stories of the day. If you guys are catching this on the replay or on the newly formatted Hollywood Before Noon, please leave your comments below and be sure to tune into the live stream that happens pretty much every night here on Hollywood After Dark.